intentional. I am the sun. I am original. I am the one. I have a purpose for my existence. I will not stop till I reach my mission. I have ambition. I am consistent. People don't cross me without my permission. My journey is in no competition. I am grateful for all I've been given. I am unique. I am complete. I am everything that I wish to see. I can create my own reality. I am the best me that I can be. I am manifestation. I am present and patient. I am confident. I am opulent. I am destined for greatness. I am.
What's good, y'all? It's your girl Sheena D, aka Indigo Ayora, and this is Str8 Outta Kemet. Founded in 2019, it was birthed underneath my publishing company, I in the Middle Publishing LLC, where the mission is raising frequencies one book at a time. Str8 Outta Kemet features greatness from our own melanated community of entrepreneurs, entertainers, authors, and social influencers. Its mission is lifting up our people one broadcast at a time. Str8 Outta Kemet has been rebirthed and will continue in the legacy of uplifting our people by utilizing its platform to promote their greatness. We are available on all listening platforms.
What's goody, y'all? What's goody? Happy Wednesday to ya. I trust that your Wednesday has been going well and swell up until now, and that you continue to have a wonderful, well and swell Wednesday, even if you have ran into different obstacles that got you a little down. Remember, you have to keep fighting the good fight and keep the faith. All right? We have another very special guest on tonight's episode, straight from out of Nashville, Tennessee. Man, this brother, I'm trying to tell you, when you see this episode, you're going to feel every inch of it. It's going to motivate you. It's going to inspire you to never stop and never, ever give up. This is my cousin, y'all, and I'm so excited. I was so excited during this interview. Y'all don't be mad at me. I forgot to ask him how he met Kid Rock and John Legend, because he's worked with both of them. And it just slipped my mind. I was just so excited to have him on here and, hear all his inspiring words. So y'all don't beat me up. But I'm going to see, if he could set another time out his busy schedule to come back on for part 2 and bless us with that information. In lieu of all that information, I'm going to need a favor from you all. I'm going to need you all to fill that comment section with "come back for part 2. All right, y'all got me? All right. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and hop on into this episode. Damien Horne began performing at a young age, growing up in Hickory, North Carolina. After high school graduation, Damien took a Greyhound bus to Los Angeles, chasing his dreams. After becoming homeless, Damien returned to North Carolina, where he formed the band Str8 and made the move to Nashville. Performing on the streets at night led Damien to be discovered by country star John Rich, who invited him to join the MuzikMafia, through which Damien was able to secure a publishing deal and tour nationally with such artists as Dwight Yoakum, Kid Rock, and John Legend. Damien released his first album, Somebody's Hero, produced by Big Kenny of Big and Rich. Outside of his solo career, Damien also formed the country trio The Farm, which was signed to Warner Music Nashville. The Farm's debut single, Home Sweet Home, hit the top 20. Damien splits his time between Nashville and Los Angeles, speaking, singing, and acting. If not on stage, he could be found in schools, prisons, and even TED Talks, sharing his message of hope. Okay, and without further ado, we have the one, the only, Mr. Damien Horne in the house. How you doing today?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing good. How is Miss Sheena D doing?
All is well. All is well. Just keeping everything pushing, no matter what the struggles
Right.
are, the stumbling blocks. Use it. Let it help you thrive.
That's it. That's it. Use that. Make it fuel. Make it rocket fuel for yourself.
Absolutely. So this is one of my favorite parts of the show. I always like to do an icebreaker where I ask like a random question just to like, see or let the audience see another side
All
of
right.
who you are. Hmm. Let's see. Because I got it all. I'll be picking out different ones out my head. Um, no, okay, we'll go with the one that I usually do because I do like to hear other people's feedback. So, what do you feel like the world would be like if there was no way to see your reflection?
Oh wow, that's a really cool question. Honestly, I think my first thought is it'd probably be a better world. A less self-conscious world, and I think a less like kind of like self-conscious world is a better world in theory at least. Like always judging yourself, worrying about it, and like yeah, I don't know. That's the kind of the first thing that comes to my mind. So I feel like it might, I think that would help in the sense of, those of us who struggle with, self-esteem and body imaging and stuff like that. Because like even myself, like I don't like to think that I'm vain, but I'm probably pretty vain. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm always in the mirror, it's like, oh, is that another grade? What is this? Like trying to, am I slim enough? So I figured if I could never see myself, I was like, maybe that wouldn't be such of a deal, or at least less of one.
Hmm. I had thought about that question because I was holding baby girl one day in the bathroom and she seen her reflection. I guess it was probably like the first time she actually like paid attention. And I was like, "Oh, you can see yourself, huh?" And so then that just kind of like popped in my head like what would the world be like
That's a
if
good
we
question.
couldn't
I
see?
like that.
Yeah, it's definitely something to like, reflect on.
Yeah, the ponder.
Mhm. Mhm. So, I am so happy to have you on this show, guys. If you don't know, this is my real live cousin.
Real life, not even play, because this is the real deal.
Real live. So, we're about to get into all this greatness that he is uh exuberating. Is that the right word? Exuberating.
I love
Y'all
it.
know what I'm saying.
I love it.
So one of my first questions is what kind of like sparked you into getting into being a musician?
I mean, kind of, I mean, that's been like a part of me since I was a real young kid. Like I just remember, I think for me, I remember hearing songs on the radio and watching music videos, like this is when videos used to air on TV, what I'm saying, like that kind of thing. And I just remember how they made me feel. And then I would watch how it made other people feel. And if I felt like, man, that's what I was always drawn to it. And I wanted that ability to make people feel that way that music made me feel and the way I saw it make people around me feel. So really young, like, I remember listening on the radio to like, groups like, you know, I mean, like Earth, Wind and Fire. Surface is one that comes to my mind. A lot of people don't know Surface. They're like a, I don't want to put them down. They're kind of like maybe the off-brand Earth, Wind and Fire Surface, but I knew who they were as a kid. I just remember their songs on the radio, and I was like, oh man, I want to write a song like this. So I would mimic their songs, listen to the radio, and try to create my own songs from that. But people like that, and old school stuff like Otis Red and Sam Cooke, Bill Withers, that kind of stuff. And then
Mhm.
like I just started writing and creating from that point, and I didn't know how to play an instrument at the time, but I love to sing and I like poetry. So those two things kind of went together and it just kind of built from there.
Okay, I love it. So you said Sam Cooke, so you kind of like have a very like somewhat of an old
Yeah,
soul.
yeah, absolutely. Very like old school soul, like stuff. That's the kind of stuff that like moved me, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, and so I just like, oh, I want to create stuff like that. But then I was also like, impressed by like phenomenal performers like, Michael Jackson, Prince, James Brown, that whole
Yeah.
world. So like, the songwriting of, these things, but then also the showmanship of those guys was like, oh, that's what made me kind of want to progress from just writing, creating songs. It's like, oh, I got to hit the stage too. I want to be able to do that. So
Yes, yes, yes. You are a jack of all trades. I know we're going to get into that a little bit in a second. Um, for me, writing when I write stage plays, most of the time I'm using my real life experience, things that really have happened to me. And most of the things that I write about is always just kind of relatable because it's a ministry, so to speak. You know what I
Right,
mean? It's helping somebody else they see themselves on stage. So it's kind of like a healing thing, you know what I mean? At the same time. Um, so my way of like connecting is just like to write about me.
right.
So what would you say is your way of like connecting with the audience as far as like with your music? Like how do you know the right music, the beat, the tempo? Because I don't really know too much about
Right.
music, but how do you know what will move someone in
Well,
the audience?
it's just like you said. I think like in the theater world and the music world, they're very similar in a lot of ways when you have to engage an audience and that kind of thing. And I think like you said, the same goes for me. It's like it starts with what resonates with me first. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, it's got to resonate with me because I I feel like I live the human experience like most people. So if I create something that resonates with me, it's going to resonate with somebody, out there. And that's kind of where I start, and then, it can take on a life of its own. It doesn't always have to stay in that area, and
Mhm.
I'm well traveled. I meet a lot of people and I hear other people's experiences. So those things play a part as well. But it always starts with me. It's kind of like the mad scientist, so like the experiment has to work on me first. And if it's not moving me, then I tend to like I write songs all the time that people will never hear because it didn't really, like the way I delivered it or the way it was when it was finished, it didn't move me. So I was like, it just, I just move on to the next thing. I'm sure you probably done the same thing with, like
Yes.
plays. You're like, oh, this is not, it didn't hit me the way I wanted to. I have to reconstruct it or maybe scrap it or whatever the case may be. But I think us as creators do that all the time.
Absolutely. When I'm like in a mood where I guess I don't really feel like writing, but I kind of force myself to do it. Um, just to like release the thing on my mind, release what's on my mind. And then I go back and read it and I'll be like, what is this? What in the world did I write? This is horrible. But we are always our own worst
Yeah,
critic.
exactly. I bet it was phenomenal. Exactly. It's like we definitely always our own worst critic. And I know sometimes I have to do that, and I have to do that in my line of work as well because I'm like, I write for other artists, and sometimes, like not every day I'm waking up feeling inspired to write, and sometimes I have to force my way through. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but like you also kind of develop a muscle to do that as well. But I feel like those are two different brains at work. You know what I'm saying? When that happens, when I have to do that kind of thing, I much rather be compelled and inspired than to have to like chunk away at it. But I'll do the blue collar way as well. So
Mhm. And speaking of that, as a artist, are you working like full time as well? Because I know that's really hard, a real hard balance for a lot of artists out here because we have to get survival jobs
right.
sometimes.
So for me, I've been professional artist where I just played only did music for 20 years now. '04, I got my first
Nice.
publishing deal, and then I've done nothing but music since then. I don't have any other jobs. I just do music. And but and I've been doing it for 20 years, but then there's at least 20 years, 10 to 15 years before that I had to do that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like where I had to work the job and try to do the gigs at night and try to balance the two. And I think, for people who are, because there usually will come a point, if you have the ability and you kind of get in the right positions, there'll come a point where you have to make that decision, like to fully jump in. Because I think in order to like to really do it, you have to put yourself. For me personally, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like this is kind of the thing that I've noticed is like you got to put yourself in the fire, you got to jump in the water, like you got to jump all the way in because there's so many people out there creating and trying to do that, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, they're putting in, 24 plus hours a day if you could do it, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like to even kind of like stay in competition with that, you have to make up in your mind, okay, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do regardless. And for me, fortunately, I made that decision very young. I knew that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to tell people in Hickory, North Carolina, where I'm from, I used to tell all the people, anybody who sees this and know this, they remember me from school. And I used to say, hey, I'm gonna make a living doing this. I'm gonna be famous. I said, either I'm gonna be that or I'm gonna be a bum doing it, but I'm gonna do it. It doesn't matter. Like this was my only option. I didn't give myself a plan B. I was just like, and I did things that worked till I got to that point where I was like, all right, now I have to really, go all in. And that was a tough couple years when that happened. It was probably like a few years when I decided I was like, all right, I'm only gonna I'm gonna sink or swim doing music. And so like, it took a moment, of like, to still sleeping on couches and eating ramen noodles and the whole nine, everything that you kind of sacrifice to do it. And then the opportunities kept coming, and then it forced me to double down on like what I was doing, like really really take it seriously, and like, okay, what do I have to do to get to the next level, whether it's just individual growth or networking or combination of two, playing shows, right? So whatever I had to do, learn more, get the the knowledge of what's going on. And yeah, so it's a grind, and it's still a grind. You know what I'm saying? But if you love it, this is what I say. If you love it, and that's what your purpose to do, you wouldn't be happy doing anything else. So it's like I would not be happy doing anything else. Maybe one or two other things I can think of that would bring me some, but like this is this is what I feel like I was designed for. So
Yeah, I can tell. So because you seem like you're at complete peace, because your skin is like super clear, like super clear, super clear. That usually comes with a lot of peace, right?
hey man, I got peace, man. I tell you, I fight for peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Bible said, blessed are the peacemakers. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so it's like people think peace comes at like, oh, just like folding over and laying down. No, like peacemakers. You have to make peace in your life because everything in your life is coming at you to to give you the other. So you have to fight for that peace. No, so I'm constantly fighting for peace in my world that I've created around me. I was like, if there's anything that's breaking through that barrier that is not bringing peace or bringing discord or, you know, anger or malice, all these things that I don't want in my world, I'm blocking it out. You know what I'm saying? So it keeps your boy looking young. That's what I'm trying.
That is right. Now, I, first, I didn't even know that you were on TEDx
Yeah.
twice.
Hmm.
That is super dope. I actually have thought about, surfacing over to TEDx because I definitely want to work on
You
my
absolutely should.
speaking. So, yeah, that's definitely something I would like to do. But on top of that, you are also an actor.
Yeah, look, I dab a little bit. I mean, I ain't no Sheila D, but I dab a little bit.
Uh, hey, listen, well, soon when I get to North Carolina, we're gonna have to get you in a show.
I love that. I honestly would love that. Like, it's like I love the entertainment industry as a whole. And honestly, even before I thought about being a musician, I wanted to act. Like, I love the entertainment world. And then,
Yeah.
but it just kind of, singing happened more and more. The opportunities kind of landed in that realm, and I just kind of took off with that path. But I love acting. I love.
It's so crazy how well, mostly everybody on my father's side, which is y'all, is
Yeah.
like so talented. Like everybody has a talent within the performing arts.
Right.
And it's just even my sister, she writes as well.
Right. So,
Kenya. Yeah, so it's just like when I came once I met you all. Because guys, if you don't know, Damien was actually the first cousin that I met
yeah.
at a Broadway comedy club in New York City. He came through with his whole entourage and represented. And I was really, really happy to have you there.
It was
And then you
awesome,
was
and
like
you were hilarious. By the way, I was so nervous. I was like, please let my cousin be funny. I ain't never met her. I wanted to be, and you were hilarious. By the way, which is another. You got a zillion talents as well. So it was awesome.
oh.
It was such a great night too, and a cool way to meet for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It was. It absolutely was. So once I met you all, even though I'm still like meeting people, but
right.
I want to say I finally felt at home because one, all our last names matches. And then two, it's like it's so much talent within the entertainment business. So it's like, oh, I don't feel like an outsider no more. Like
Right,
I feel a part of.
right. It's in the genes. It's in that blood, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with all of the amazing things that you have done, and we know that you have already been linked to celebrities, do you have any celebrities that you would like to work with in the future?
I mean, there's so many I'd like to work with, like, but I'm like still like I love to work with Bruno Mars would be one I'd
I
like
could
to
see
work
that,
with.
yeah.
I just think he's super talented. He has a lot of like I just think I dig his like showmanship and his songwriting ability, a lot of that stuff. Kind of he's but like guys from back in the day, like I would love to. I mean, still even love to write with like work with Stevie Wonder. Like iconic figures like that. There's so many. I could go on and on with the list of names. A lot of them who I really wanted to collaborate with have passed on. Like I would have loved to have done something with Prince, with MJ. You know what I'm saying? Chris Cornell. Like there's a lot of them that like have passed, but there's still so many out there. I mean, I could keep naming. And I've been fortunate enough to work with one of my favorite John Legend. So I had the opportunity to that, which is super cool. And there's been so many along the way that yeah, there's a lot I could name, honestly.
Awesome. And what are the different genres of music that you do?
I mean, everything. Like I literally, and that's, I guess that's kind of been a pro and a con in my career set. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still grew up in a time where, like they kind of want to place you in a box. It's like, all right, what are you? Are you this? Are you this, this, this? And I've always kind of bucked that idea. And then like later on, kind of, iPods were introduced to the world where people weren't just listening to one particular, they were listening to particular songs they like, and it could be across genres. So now that's kind of played to my benefit. Like I could play a show, and I can play everything from rock to pop to soul to country to like, gospel,
Awesome.
R&B. I can do it all, and I love all of it because you got to remember, like I approach this as a songwriter, and I think there's great songs across genres of music. So, like for me, like there's a lot of country songs I love. There's a lot of rock songs I love. There's a lot of R&B songs I love. Gospel. Like so, I and now that I'm a performer, I'm not ashamed or at least scared to attempt to play any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I believe that this is going to be so inspiring for, other artists out there just hearing your story overall and how you kept going because you mentioned you were like sleeping on couches and had to do ramen noodles and things like that. So what were like some of the like inner thoughts that you would say to yourself to like keep yourself going? I know you knew that this was your passion,
Yeah.
but it's sometimes we still have that moment where it's like, "Oh, this is just too much." Like,
Yeah, and I know we all do. And just a little brief of my story for those who don't know. Like I said, I'm originally from North Carolina. When I graduated high school, I went to LA. I was there for 2 years. I was homeless out there for 2 years. Moved back toward the East Coast. Moved to Nashville. Was homeless there. Was sleeping out of my car until things kind of popped off. In like oh oh 04 is when I got my first like publishing deal to do music full time. And then I just went on from there, and things just kind of kept going. But like definitely in those moments, like where I was homeless on the street, I was more worried about what I was going to sleep or eat, than I was about making music at the time. And then, you always have those moments. I think any and every artist will tell you that you always have those moments of like, did I make the wrong decision? Is this going to work for me? But I just had to get back to, who I was. I knew like to me, there's no real security in anything in life. So you might as well like
sure.
you might as well go for it. Like it's like you people who work like 9 to 5s, what I'm saying, and they might feel more secure, but like you don't know. That's still at the hands of anything and any kind of thing can happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for me, I feel like I get one life. I know what I love. I feel like, and a lot of people it's hard because they don't necessarily know what their purpose to do yet, and that's a different conversation. But if you feel like it, you know that you're meant to do like say the music industry, then the fun, the journey of it is like watching it unfold. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of it. Like
Mhm.
it's super fun. And I tell people this all the time. I've played, in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and I've played in front of 3 people. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen every venue in between that. You know what I'm saying? And my best moments were like the moments where I was like, up and coming and hustling, bustling, putting flyers out. That's how old I was. This is when you used to put flyers actually out on the pole. We had all this digital stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, please come to my show, like doing those kind of things, and like,
Mhm.
and I look back on all the things I've been able to do, and I just remember how amazing those moments. Because when one of those shows went well, and like I got a good room and a good response, it was the payment. That was the payoff. And so for people who are pursuing it, I would say this: I'm just like, if you know that's who you are, you're not gonna be happier pursuing anything else. So you might as well just double down on it and go hard. And you're gonna have those moments. Just know that you're gonna have those moments. You know what I'm saying? It's like going to the gym. Like you've seen enough people go to the gym and lift weights and get bigger muscles, but you get sore. Like it's a part of the process. And so like having those days where you feel like, oh man, am I making the wrong decision? It's not going my way, or this fell through, blah blah blah. It's part of the process. And when you recognize that and know that, then you can accept it for what it is. Okay, this is just part of the process. In order for me to get these bigger muscles, I'm gonna be sore sometimes. Same thing with
Mhm.
music. Same thing with pursuing any of these dreams. Like order to pursue these dreams, some days it's gonna be sore. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna feel as good. You know what I'm saying? And some days you're gonna leave the gym and be like, man, I put up more weight than I expected. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and so once you kind of accept that in your mind, then you just go for it. You know what I'm saying? And just put the pedal down and keep at it. And surround yourself with people who encourage that. You know what I'm saying? Because like, man, that's the big part too. It's just like the company
Mhm.
you keep can tear you down quicker than anything else. So it's just like, for me, I've always, I like I said, I fight for my peace. You know what I'm saying? I'm a peacemaker, so it's like I fight for the peace. So I keep people around me who are going to speak those kind of things to me and not like, not celebrate when I'm down. You know what I'm saying? They encourage me during that time, and then they celebrate when I'm up with me. So, and I would say the two things that help me the most, I still do it to this day. When I don't know what to do as an artist, I create and share. Those are the two things I always do, because that's what got me here. I created
Mhm.
something and I shared it, and it just opened these opportunities, and opportunities beget opportunities. So it's just like, that's all it's really not that much rocket science to it. It's just, the battle is yourself. It's always yourself. The battle
That
is
is
yourself.
true.
The battle
Yes.
is yourself. So if you can check this person, if you can check the person in the mirror that we talking about, if you can check that
Absolutely.
person, you'll be good. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the key. That's the hard part too, though. Mastering that person.
Yes. You just spoke so much realness for real. Like, cause even for myself right now, I'm working a 9 to 5 and I'm sitting at the desk like, oh my God. I'm just thinking about the next show,
Right, right, right. Yep.
or my current show going on tour. I'm just
Right,
like, okay, I know what I've been ordained to do. I know why I came to this planet.
right.
It's just not happening exactly and moving as fast as I want it to move.
That's
But
every one of us. That's every
yes,
one of us. So like, you're in good company if you feel that way. I'm telling you, I don't care who you talk to. You can talk to anybody. Like, we all feel like, man, this ain't going exactly the way I want it, and it's not moving fast enough. That's us too, impatience. But it's just,
yes,
it's man. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it's part of the process of it. Because it's like when you get it, like, man, you're so much more appreciative of it. You know how to handle it better, and then you know how to maintain it. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big thing, because a lot of people can get to those points and they can't keep it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
hmm,
it's so much in this right now that you're learning that you won't even recognize until you get to that spot. And you're like, oh, that's why I need, as you get older, you say hindsight is 2020. Now I think about all the stuff I went through. I was like, oh, okay, man, it makes sense. Now it makes sense. But when you're going through it, it don't feel good. It don't make
no,
sense sometimes. But
absolutely, absolutely. Um, what's one thing that you would tell, or yeah, one thing you would say to your inner child, the young kid, Damien Horne?
um, this is probably the biggest one for me. Is like, learn to tackle your fears earlier. Like for me, I'm super happy and content where I am. Always looking to progress and go further. But I felt like I could have progressed a lot quicker and got further if I didn't allow fears to hold me back. Things that had nothing to do with anything. That was just all in my own mind. That's why I said tackling
Mm-hmm.
yourself is that. It's like, and when I was young, you know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of know, like, my background and how we grew up in the sense of, like, single parent homes, low income, the statistical type stuff that people talk about. And so when you grow up like that, there's a lot of fears that come, you know what I'm saying, like that come in at, you know what I'm saying, losing,
Mm-hmm.
siblings at a young age, seeing death really
Yeah.
early and all these kind of things. You start to develop these fears. And if there's nobody there to kind of help navigate you through those things, then they latch onto you and they start playing out in all these different parts of your life, consciously or subconsciously. So you don't even really know. And a lot of time earlier on, I was acting out of fear, even when I thought I was being brave. You know what I'm saying? Like people are like, man, you were brave to go to LA, right after high school and do this. That. Yeah, that part was brave, but there were so many things that I did out of fear as well that like could have, and so I would just tell the young self, man, like, you ain't got nothing to be afraid of. Like, you really don't. You really don't. Like, I don't even care what part of life you're in. I feel like that now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I,
Mm-hmm.
I'm what they call middle age. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still feel like, like I'm just getting started. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's so much more I got to do. So it's just like, and now those fears have, like, subsided. I still got, just like everybody, there's still some fears that try to creep in. But if I could tell the younger self, it's like, man, those fears, man, they 99% of them are invalid. They never even
Mm-hmm.
come to fruition. They never even really like play a part like you think they do. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That has my mind moving around.
well,
You know,
yeah.
I'm a Libra, so I analyze
Oh,
everything. I'm like,
yeah.
"Doot, doot,
Yep.
doot, doot, doot."
That's good.
So what is something that you would tell a young inspiring? I think you kind of already said it though. What you would tell like a young inspiring artist that's like kind of coming up and they don't really know like what to do. They believe in themselves, but they're
Yeah.
like, I
Well, I
don't
can
know.
expound on that. I know exactly. Like for me, like I said, the first two things I would say are create and share. If you're a creator, what I'm saying, you're an artist, you got to create, you got to share. Don't ever be afraid to do that. Like I was afraid to share. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
I didn't have a problem with the creating part, but I used to be afraid to share what I created. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? Like I started doing country. I was doing country music for a while. I was like, oh, how people gonna accept me, this black dude doing country music? Blah. Like, you have all these weird feels in your, you know, ideas and thoughts in your head that like, and then when I did that and started playing and traveling and doing that, I got so much love and response from my people, like why was I even tripping about that? You know what I'm saying? Like that, they're just happy to see me doing well. But like all these little fears kind of just tell you. But I would tell people to constantly create and constantly share. And then like, man, like always put yourself in a position of like whatever you do, try to under promise and over deliver. You know what I'm saying? It's the one of the things that's kept my career going so long. I know a lot of people who have had, whatever kind of level of success above or below mine, but they haven't had the longevity I had. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years. It's like a real career for people. You know what I'm saying? Like 20 years, I just pay my bills doing music. And a lot of that
that's
comes from like
awesome.
connecting with connecting with people and then like man like doing right by people. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care
Mm,
what I always say this, I don't even care if they do me wrong. Like I'm not gonna allow the way they treat me to dictate how I respond to that. And so it's like it's always served me well, whether you believe in, the law of reciprocity or karma or whatever you believe in. It's just like I do believe what you sow is what you reap. You know what I'm saying? And if you keep putting that good stuff out there, man, good stuff is gonna, you're gonna have a good stuff tree. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, so that's always my approach, with that. Anytime I work with people, I want to leave them better than when I met them. And I share, I create, and I stay connected. You know what I'm saying? And I just keep doing it. Whenever I don't know it, when it feels like a drought for me, I go plant what I want. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you
mm,
would do in real life. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, I'm hungry. Let me go plant something to eat. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, I need opportunity. Let me go plant some opportunities for people. Like, let me connect somebody to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me go plant it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have that ability, we have that power. And so it's just like, that's what I would tell new artists. You know what I'm saying? And then also like, and this might be tougher for some people. It's not as much for me. my philosophy, I'm very water. That's my personality. You know what I'm saying? Like I flow. Like I'm a flow type person. So it's like I can be a little more flexible. Some people are not, but and I think, there's a book I was reading where it talks about people who are sailors and people who are rowers. You know what I'm saying? Some people kind of force their way into places, and some are sailors. They let the wind take them. I'm more sail, but you need both of those skills, and you need to know when to apply those. But I definitely lean more to the sail or to like the water, and I think that has helped me because it's like kind of how like you were saying, it's like, man, it's not happening the way I want it to happen. And some people get so wrapped up in that, they stop their growth. It's like, oh man, I really want it to happen this way, but it's like maybe you have to take this route to get there. You know what I'm saying? And so like if you're so shut off to this other avenue, then you could probably block yourself from getting to the same goal that you was trying to get to anyway. So I would tell people to stay open, stay flexible, and that keep sharing, keep networking, and keep creating.
Absolutely, absolutely. So where I'm at right now with the Crucified, I mean, I'm going to take that show on a national tour. It's just going to
Yes,
happen.
there you go. Keep speaking.
I
That's
think
terrific.
that was one of the best shows that I've ever written, honestly. And I've done like what, maybe 5 or 6 productions, but that one is like it's up there. So I'm just looking to be able to get a nice producer on my hands. I mean, you have a whole bunch of titles, Damien. So I mean, what you doing? Look,
Right, right, right.
feel about producing my show.
Right. Hey, I'm definitely not opposed. You know me. This is like, I'm a creative, and this is a family affair. So like, and I always tell like, my people is like, what resources I have, you have. So it's like it ain't nothing but for you to be like, hey, what do you got anything in this area? I'm be like, yay or nay, and if I do, then it's yours. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. So because I believe in that. I believe in that. Like I said, I believe in the sowing and reaping of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I didn't get here on my own. Nobody gets there on their own. Everybody needs help. People want to act like they did on their own, but it's like everybody. People help me get where I'm getting, so where I got and where I'm going, so it's the same. And then on top of that, you family. So it's like what I got, you got. So we definitely can talk.
Yeah, because speaking of that, when I did the Crucified like the first time around, there's a person here who's also doing theater. He does like the go-go version of like remakes of other shows and things like that. But anyway, I was told by certain, a numerous amount of people like, no, that's not the path that you want to take. And for me, it's like it looks good. It looks
Uh-huh.
very promising. Um, but I have to still make sure that I'm protecting my brand. And that's
Yeah.
another scary part about it, especially when you are seeking producers, because Crucified is literally about my life. I don't want my story to change
Right.
by any means necessary. Um, there's so much more I want to elaborate on, but then I just realized I shouldn't even be talking about that on here.
It's all good. It's all good. It's
Yeah.
helping. All of these things help.
Yes, absolutely. I would like for you to talk a little bit about the song,
Okay.
your
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the song is a show that's on. It's on like Tupelo Raycom and Circle TV and a couple other stations. But basically, it's a show that kind of highlights songs and the songwriting process. These iconic songs that have been created over time that kind of have like shaped our lives. Everybody's got these songs or the soundtracks of our lives, and so it's like these hit songwriters. We kind of interview these songwriters and find out how the song was created, which is what I love because, like I said, that was my first love in music was creating the songs. You know what I'm saying? So I got to interview people like CeeLo Green and Rick Springfield and Don McLean and like just all these crazy like hit songwriters and artists and yeah, and they just share the process. That's why I said it's funny because like even in how we're talking about it and no matter the level of where you're at in your journey as far as with your your career, we all have those same stories. CeeLo's got the story of like, man, I came to the story and I came to a writing session and they wanted me to write with this new cat, Bruno Mars, and and this other dude. And he's like, I went in there and I wasn't feeling the vibe, so I went to the bathroom and never came back. And he just like left. You know what I'm saying? Then he's like, then I ended up linking up with him later on, and then they wrote "Forget You." You know what I'm saying? It's like all these stories like, or I wrote this one song, and like the label is just like, no, we don't. Like I don't want to use that. That's the worst song. Like it's not even gonna make the album. But they pushed and pushed, and it became a huge smash. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many stories like that on all levels. That's why I said whenever you find yourself in those moments, man, you just consider yourself in good company because, I mean, even the best of the best go through those. Those doubts and those ups and downs of the business. But yeah, that's kind of what the song is
Yeah.
about. It exposes that and just highlights these iconic songs. And I hosted the. I'm not hosting on it anymore. I'm just like doing too busy doing other things now. But the first 2 seasons I hosted with a partner of mine, Krista Marie, who she's still hosting. And yeah, it's a cool show. It's a really cool show, especially if you like to hear the behind the scenes on like great these iconic songs.
Awesome. And how can they catch the show?
Like I said, it's on. You can like if you go on your guide and like look up the song, it's and you can go to song.tv.com. I believe that's what it is. But if you could just literally like Google the song and it'll take you to like what stations and the timing that it's playing. And yeah, you can check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. And like I said, the lady who's hosting it now is a close friend of mine. She was actually in the country trio I was in called The Farm, and we've toured together, written together, did TV shows together, all kinds of stuff. So it's like it's awesome.
Okay, okay. Just a few more questions. I know you're a
Yeah,
busy
no, yeah, no.
man. He just flown on in
Just
and got
flew
back and
in.
hopped right on to do this interview. So I very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, for our listeners who, and also for me, because I really want to know, how did you get into doing TEDx?
Oh yeah, so it's funny. It's like how you were talking about before, like putting things out there. Like you're like, oh, Crucify is gonna be, international. However you want it to be. You just putting it out there. And I remember like, I love to inspire, encourage, and impact people. You know what I'm saying? And like, I public speak as well, so I do that a lot. I travel and do like, Boys and Girls Club events, Salvation Army events. Like I just did an event for Kroger. I just did, do
Nice.
like road fields. I do like corporate stuff like that in that realm as well, and then stuff that's like kind of nonprofit based. And so, um, I was just talking about it. Like I literally just kept saying, I really want, because I watch, TED Talks all the time, and I was like, I really want to do one. I kept saying it. And then one day I was playing an event in Nashville, and this one woman came up to me and she goes, like she's like, I love your music. So we kind of sat down and talked, and she told me who she was and what she did, and she was listening to my story. She's like, have you ever thought about doing like a TEDx talk? I was like, it's literally like one of my like bucket list things to do. She's like, well, I curate one at Berkeley. And I was like,
Wow.
really? She's like, I'd love to like, put you on the list of that and see if they'd be up for it. And so I did, and they dug it, and I ended up doing one. And then after I did that one, actually, right as that happened, a couple weeks later, somebody reached out from Sand Hills, South Carolina, for me to do a TEDx for them. So it's like I literally did both of those TEDx pretty close together, and it was just me speaking it after a while and just like saying, "Oh, this is like what I want to do," and I still have that contact, so we need to connect. If you want to do that, I can like
Yes, I really do.
connect y'all too. So
I
it's
just put together my whole like my pamphlet that outlines like kind of like my life stories and things that I will be talking about, like topics and things like that.
right,
Um,
and that's
mhm.
and that's that's the thing. Yeah, figure out like what you want to share and what you want to deliver. I always talk about. My main topic is about purpose. This last one I just did, like, well, it wasn't TED Talk, but like my TED Talk was usually about purpose, like discovering that and living that out, and what that looks like. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? It's like, because there's so many people, unfortunately, don't know why they're here or what they're doing here. You know what I'm saying? I was like,
Yeah.
that's got to be scary, because then how can you not feel very scared at all times or feel like you're just kind of like blowing
Mm.
around like a paper bag? It's like, what did I do this
Right.
for? So it's like,
I like that terminology on around like a paper bag.
uh,
Um, I had something on my mind I was about to say, and I do not remember what it was. Just like that. Gone. I need to take some, what they call it, Ginkgo, because today
Oh,
I've been so foggy.
all right. Yeah, I know. Well, because you do a zillion things. That's what that's what happens. You're like, oh, I'm juggling. Oh, let me add more. Let me add more and more and more.
Right. My mom used to always tell me that. She said, Sheena, you want to do too much.
Yeah. No,
I
I
can't
know that
exactly get her
feeling.
accent down, but that's how she used to say it.
Really, I know that feeling. I've been getting better. Like last couple years, like every top of the year, I always give myself a word for the year. And the last few years, it's been focus because
Mm,
it's like I recognize when I don't try to do a lot of things and I focus in on, a smaller group of things, I excel a lot better. As opposed to when I have so many things, like I'm doing a lot and I'm getting a lot done, but none of them are at the level where it really moves the needle for me. And when I kind of shrink that down and put that energy in there, it's like I'm able to excel a little more. So I was like, oh, okay, let me keep with that approach. So I have to remind myself because I'm like movement is life to me. Like if I'm not moving, I don't feel like I'm alive. So I'm like, oh, I
mm-hmm.
gotta be here, I gotta be here, I gotta do that though. But
Yes. Because you start staying in the house, the walls will start closing in, and every
absolutely,
negative thought that you could think
yep,
of will come to your mind.
absolutely.
Got to get up and move around. I remember what I was about to say. It's funny because like I love motivational speaking as well, but I always find myself getting a little bit nervous. I mean, of course, I feel like everybody get a little, even when I go on stage and do
Uh,
comedy, I still get like a little nervous. And sometimes I feel like I start to trip up on my words because
mhm.
I'm so nervous, or I'm one of those people that when I get super nervous, I'll just say something and it makes no sense.
Right.
It makes no sense at all. And one of my friends was like, "But how are you? You do stage plays, and
You-
at the end of the show, I go out in front of a whole lot of people. I'm able to talk and everything." Um, but I guess it's I feel like motivational speaking might be different because I feel like I want to make sure I stay on course of what
right,
I'm
right,
talking about because my mind is so sporadic. I would start talking about something else and
right, right.
then finding that way to gauge myself back to the
And
conversation.
and the thing is like I've worked with people to help them do that. You know what I'm saying? Because like for me, and I know that feeling, but for me, it's just really knowing knowing where you want to go before you get there. It's like that. And not that people don't know that, but it's like you got to trim the fat. You know what I'm saying? They always talk about, in media training, when I was out, doing all these radio tours and talking to these PDs and MDs at radio, our media trainer used to always say the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Like you gotta hit the PowerPoints. Because like with a TEDx talk, like those, they're like the one I did, they're like 15 minutes long. So you gotta like
Mhm.
you don't have time for you don't have time
Right.
for the details and the fluff and those you start doing it and you're like, oh man, like, and that's things that you like, because it took me a minute to like figure out I can give the same thing I did on my TEDx I normally do for an hour, but I had to figure out how do I take that hour to 15 minutes. And so it's like, and then like now I've mastered it in a way where I was like, I can literally go into a place and I'm like, how much time do I have? And they'd be like, oh, you have. I just did it at this event I did for Kroger. I literally, they were running behind on their schedule. And so I got up there. I was about to go up to speak. And it was like, I was supposed to have 20 minutes. And he's like, you got 5 minutes.
Mm.
I was like, bet. And that stuff doesn't scare me anymore because
Mhm.
one of the things that helps me is like when you know inside and out what you're talking about and what you're trying to deliver, you can break it down. You can be as elaborate or as to the point as you need to be. And of course having bullet points and stuff like that kind of help. I don't like to use, like some people like write all the way out. I don't like to do that. The most I will do is like I might do like a bullet point. It's like, oh, make sure I say this, make sure, because my thing is like I can go through stuff really quickly now, and I might forget something that I wanted to say as opposed to doing too much. So, there's a whole bunch of
Mhm.
little tactics to that kind of stuff. But I don't think you have any problem. Like, I mean, you're hosting a podcast, you do stand up comedy, you're on stage, you like think you
Well,
got that.
even with doing stand-up comedy, like how you say you do bullet points, I have to literally write everything out that I'm going to say verbatim to put it in my head. Because with doing stand-up comedy, how it's different emotions you got to have, or certain words got to be heightened at a certain time and
Yeah,
things like that. So I have to have it written out, and I studied the script. Like the night that y'all came, I was practicing like 3-4 days straight, all day, with a broom in my hand.
Wow. And so you know what? You know what? I'm wondering if that's a Libra thing because the girl, Krista, who hosts the song that I was talking about, who's in the group with me, she's a Libra as well. And anytime we did stuff, like I'm very like in the moment. Like I just need to know the bullet points and I can flow. Like I said, I'm a flower. She's very like I need to know if I'm stepping here at this point in time. I need to know if I'm here at this time. I need to know each word. Like she's that way as well. Like so, like on stage and when we do stuff together, like it worked because I just let her plan what she needed to have planned, and then I would flow around that because I'm more. I do better when I start like doing that, like kind of what you're saying. I get more nervous doing that because I feel like now I have to stick to a specific script, and then I'm like, even when people, and this is like, I don't know, you can tell me this. I don't know if like screenwriters are like this or not, but like even when people give me a script to read, like I kind of read it and get the gist of it, and then I kind of feel what it feels like in delivery. And sometimes they're like, no, I need you to say it like this, but I get that exactly. And sometimes like that's a little harder for me. You know what I'm saying? That's a little harder for me to be exact on like that. But like so, pros and cons. Everybody has their weaknesses. That's probably more my weakness doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I always kind of let my actors slide a little bit, and sometimes they just want to add in a line or two, and I think that it sounds good and it's
Right.
funny, it goes with it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Now, before we go, I see that guitar. You want to play us a little something, something?
Look, you see the edge of it's hanging over here. Let's see.
Just, it
Let's see.
doesn't have to be anything too long.
Okay, let me see. It's a little out of tune. I can tune it for you real quick. What
Okay, cool.
what should I play? Here. I'm trying. Now you
You
got me on
know,
the spot for real.
I done seen your whole list of songs. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I got songs for days.
I see. Surprise us.
All right. Let me do something. Let's see. I tune because I care. Okay.
Mm.
How about I'll do a verse and a chorus of the first song I ever wrote on guitar and kind of tell that
Ooh.
story. So this is the first song I ever wrote on guitar. When I first moved to Nashville, see if I can find a way to prop it up behind them. When I first moved to Nashville, like I would sit out on the side of Second Avenue and do what we call busking, which is when people sit out there and play and people walk by and throw money and stuff like that. And so I was sitting out there one night and I was playing, and this guy walks by with a big old black cowboy hat and a handlebar mustache. And he threw $100 into my guitar case, and we started going back and forth. I didn't know who it was, but it was a guy by the name of John Rich from this country duo called Big and Rich. And so I started hanging with those guys. That's kind of how my career kind of got started. But when I first moved, I'm originally a keys player. I can't even really say I'm a keys player now because I play guitar way more than I play keys. But when I first started playing music, it was always on the piano. And when I got there, I was like, oh, I can't lug a piano around everywhere. So I got a guitar from a pawn shop, and I learned like 4 chords, and I wrote a song to it. And so I would just play that song over and over. And there was this song here called Rain. So I'll give you a verse and a chorus.
Okay.
She assures me things will never change, but I've heard it all before. Still I can't ignore. There is so much I have left to say. But this moment that we're in is telling me this could be love. And it feels like rain crashing down against my skin. She's tickling my head and I begin to step away. And before night I realize you're everything like I wanted.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I am so happy to call you my
yeah.
That was so dope. So before we go, can you please let the audience know all that goodness that you have coming up, where you about to be next, how they can find you, all that good stuff.
Yes, indeed. So you can find me at DamienHorne.com. That's DamienHorne, DamienHorne.com. Has all my tour dates where I'll be playing at for these next few months. And I'm releasing the album. Also, you can check me out at MagiMusic.com, which is my trio. It's three brothers doing kind of like acoustic pop soul type stuff. And MagiMusic.com. So between those two sites, you can find out where I'm playing. Either I'll be playing with the Magi or I'll be doing some solo stuff. And I'm all over the place. So, and we're the Magi. We're working on an album now. The album will be done. We have a few singles out now, but the album will be done by the summer, and so we should have a release early fall. So yeah, that's what's going on. It's plenty more music to come.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know people are inspired because I'm inspired.
That's good,
I'm
good.
feeling very inspired after this interview. So thank you so much again for, making time to come on to the Straight Outta Kemet podcast. Definitely appreciate it, cuz.
Man, well, thanks for having me, and hit me up. Let's link up after this so we can
Yeah, because I
chop
was
it up like
serious.
family do.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, y'all. All his information will be in the description box. Peace. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Straight Outta Kemet podcast. I do trust that you have enjoyed this episode. And before we go, I have to give a huge shout out to my girl, Unica Monet. Her song is the song that you hear on the intro to the Straight Outta Kemet podcast. Y'all be sure to go follow her. You can follow her at Cosmic Nobodies Conventions with a K, Less Nobody's Business LLC, Sunshine Monet L on Facebook, Less Nobodies on YouTube, and Unica Monet on all streaming platforms.
I am confident, I am opulent, I am destined for greatness.